Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 43 of the Nurtured by Nature podcast. Today, I'm delighted to be joined in conversation by Mara, founder of the Good Chocolatier based in Vancouver, Canada. As a not-so-secret chocolate lover, I was really excited to speak with Mara about her amazing craft chocolate business. Whilst there's plenty of chocolate chat, this fascinating conversation delivered so much more. Mara is an absolute inspiration and doesn't just talk the talk, but is walking the walk to show that a different vision for business can and should be a reality. She is incredibly passionate about the power of social enterprises and the importance of social sustainability in business, and how this is sadly often not as frequently considered as it should be. Despite being a small company, she has embraced working with marginalised groups, including adapting roles and work environments to allow neurodivergent staff to thrive in her business. We talk about supply chains, human rights, changing the world closer to home, connecting to our food supply, fair prices for farmers, and even some of the tools that can help us as consumers to make ethical choices for both people and the environment, including fair trade and B-corp. My conversation with Mara filled me with so much hope and inspiration around how businesses can truly be a significant force for good in our world, and how as consumers we can help to shape this impact too. Welcome, Mara, and thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of the Nurtured by Nature podcast. I'm really looking forward to our conversation because we're going to be discussing a favourite topic of mine, which is chocolate. But just to get us started, I just ask all my guests to share a little bit of their nature story. So it can just be interpreted any way you like, just maybe how nature's been a part of your life, or any fond memories you'd like to share to get us started would be lovely.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to share a bit more about my business and getting started with the nature story. It's just the best intro. I think once I'm going to share two stories from different parts of my life. And one is I was around, I guess, 21, and I traveled to Southeast Asia. I was kind of trying to figure out my value system, figure out what I want to do in the world. And I didn't, want to just go straight to studying because I had no clue what I want to be studying.
Yeah.
And so I spent a few months there, and I ended up coming across yoga teacher training. And then I was at an ashram for 4 weeks then, and came back again to, stay
Amazing.
longer. And so there was a 300-hour course and then the 500-hour course. And then actually the 500 hours, it was such a beautiful couple, and they led this yoga teacher training with so much depth and really much more about philosophy and than any yoga asanas and all this, modern stuff. It was like really traditional. And part of the karma yoga of the 500 hours was to plant a vegetable garden. And I did not grow up in the middle of the city. I grew up a bit outside of the city, and, I was exposed to nature and everything. But I guess I had never questioned before my abilities to survive by myself. And I eat 3 times a day, but I had no clue how a vegetable grows. And so we cleared up a whole garden. We planted our seeds. Like it was actually a wild area. We had to first clear everything out. And I was watching these little plants like every day. I think it was pepper and something else. And it just, came over me that I eat vegetables like 3 times a day for the rest of my life. And I with 21, it was the first time I saw a vegetable growing by myself. How crazy is that, right? Like we should learn that. And I know a lot of kids now learn that much earlier, but it was kind of a wow moment for me, to experience that and see like, this is something people should just know. Like this is not
really
something you should wait
to it. Yeah, really
feel connected to it. And I think it was just, it was just really inspiring to see that. And I love that it was part of the program. It wasn't just like here bending there, and it was like
I love that
vegetable garden. And so that was really cool. Yeah, now I'm in Canada. I'm in Vancouver. Moved here 9 years ago.
Wow.
But it's been many times. I did like similar to you. Not a gap year was, yeah, part of my high school. I could go away for 1 year and then I had to come back to
Okay,
finish
wow.
my
Yeah.
Abitur in Germany. So that was my first visa, and then I come on a second visa, and then on a third visa, and then I was like, you know what? Let me just move here. It doesn't feel like I got all the visas out there. It's done now. And I have a lot of there's a lot of crazy adventurous people here.
Yeah.
And what I think was really fascinating, even about the lifestyle culture here, that back home, like when my parents, grandparents were like, let's go for a hike, let's go for a walk, or like all teenagers, all adults, even like
Yeah.
they're like, no, like, oh, so
Yeah.
boring, and that's not cool. And here, every single person hikes, and we
Yeah.
like go on hikes. It's a weekend activity, no matter if it's 16-year-old. Sometimes I see on the mountain, in the middle of the mountain with a backpack, overnight pack,
Yeah.
camping in the wild in the mountain, and it's just part of the culture here,
Yeah.
being so exposed to nature. And one thing that my brothers said when they just came, they kind of came only to visit last year, but they thought, we went on so many, saw waterfalls here and went on a hike there. And they said it's so funny how there's nothing even, taped off or fenced off
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff. It's all on your own,
Yeah. Proper
on your own
wilderness experience.
proper wilderness,
Yeah.
but a proper, like, it wasn't like super backcountry outside
Yeah.
where you can't
Yeah.
reach, but it was really like, this is, you take care of yourself, but we don't want to disrupt nature just so
Yeah.
you have a nice little path here. So yeah, it's kept really well. People don't throw garbage around, and right, like people take so much care here of the nature,
Yeah.
and it's part of the culture, and that's really, really lovely to see.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the thing, isn't it? I've got some Canadian friends, and I've been lucky enough to visit, and
Mm,
it's I completely agree with you. They're just even in other parts of the country where they get a lot of snow and things, it's just like their whole DNA is kind of built around being outside and I mean they have some amazing areas as well, like just beautiful national parks. And I think if you
yeah,
can't be inspired to be out in nature in Canada, then
yeah.
you're probably not going to manage it anywhere. But no,
It's true.
yeah, it
I
is.
developed, lots of theories about why that is, but also if it's right in front of your face and it's just so incredibly beautiful, you can't look away. Like way more land than there's people, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So you look for inspiration from nature and automatically, and not necessarily just, from crowded people around you. I
yeah,
actually when I studied here at university, um, I was working as sustainability student ambassador for like the team with just these zero waste stations, garbage audits,
yeah,
and all of that stuff. And one day I came like super stressed to that workplace. It was just a few hours a week, but anyways. And the manager, he was just like, "Okay, Mara, like let's just go for a walk. Let's just go for a walk here in the forest. Just like if you want to talk about it, great. If not, and I just like afterwards, it's like, this was great. I feel
yeah,
de-stressed. I just went outside 5 minutes inside the forest. The university was like surrounded by forest in North Vancouver. And it was just so hard to be miserable.
yeah.
It was just so hard to be miserable. You just
Oh.
stay stressed and you go in the forest and you feel better right away.
Oh, I love that. And I think that's just what's so important, isn't it? I think about like helping people find this connection to nature is because it does just have so many benefits, particularly for mental health. I mean, that's a real stress reliever for people. Our culture is so hectic, so busy. We're just constantly under stress. And then, but you can take those few moments to go out in nature and it just, I think it gives you a different perspective, doesn't it? You
Hmm.
you feel a little bit smaller and the world feels bigger and it sort
Mm.
of keeps your problems in a better balance of actually they're not
Mm.
as huge as they feel um, when we're not in
It's the
nature.
best cure, right? Like for
Yeah,
any like mental health issues. And I mean, there's a big wave in the recent years, take care of your mental health and all of that. And I don't know how that is applied in Europe or UK. Um, what I noticed more here is during COVID was the best example, right? Like it was the most stressful time,
Yeah.
terrible for mental health, to be locked up, to do this, to be worrying, like all the factors in place to have just have a terrible mindset all day
Yeah.
long, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when everything kind of closed down, we were never in a complete lockdown. Most of the nature trails were actually still open,
Okay.
and the
Yeah.
snowboard mountains were open.
Oh wow.
So you know what? I went to go see my friend snowboarding. We just
Yeah.
met up snowboarding, just with
Yeah.
30 minutes. We're on the mountain, and it was like you were wrapped up. The lineup was, of course, with distance and stuff. Like there
Yeah.
was physical distancing in place, but there was again a moment like I was like, how the heck am I having so much fun here? And other people are in a complete lockdown, not being able to leave the house,
Yeah.
and I'm going snowboarding. And
Yeah.
it was good sign of how this is applied here in terms of even government and rules, that this is so valued and this is so important for our culture to function and be healthy. And so we're not gonna,
Deprive
shut down
people
all
of
the
it.
stuff
Yeah. Yeah.
that is
Exactly.
so important for them to have a little bit of happiness, throughout their day still. So that
Yeah.
was really beautiful and such a relief.
Yeah, we were lucky here as well in the UK that they still allowed you to go out walking in and in nature. But it had to be somewhere close to your house. You couldn't travel somewhere, but I live in
Hmm.
a little village, and actually it was really interesting to see people you wouldn't normally see in nature actually being like, well, this is my only chance to kind of get out of the house, so I'm gonna take it. And there were so many more people out walking and cycling and
Getting
just
puppies.
yeah, and just being in nature as well. And it
Yeah.
was just, and I think it was, like you said, it was really important times for people to have that ability. And we were also quite lucky being in a rural area that we had a lot
Yeah.
a lot more space than some of the people in the big cities and things who really struggled during that time. But yeah, no,
Hmm.
it's amazing. And I think so your business, which I think we have to come on to, is you called the Good Chocolatier. Is that how you say it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And what really inspired that was it part of your yoga training that you came across cacao and the health benefits
Mm.
or
I think it led back to that, through this, like the yoga inspiration cacao ceremony is actually, a big deal now here.
yeah.
And I started hosting some, but it's not where it started. It started with me eating chocolate every day. And
I'm sure
then
a lot of people can relate to that.
um, totally. And I host chocolate making workshops here as well. And people ask that all the time. I was like, yeah, just like you, I was eating chocolate every day. And then I met this craft chocolatier. And that was another moment where I just thought, how come I've never known what real chocolate is all about? Real
Yeah.
chocolate from cacao, craft chocolate. And people always say, Belgium chocolate, Swiss chocolate is the best, like where you come from is like the best chocolate, but it's not. Like it's a highly processed,
Yeah.
good commercial product, but it has not as much to do with the where cacao, right, the real cacao, than true craft chocolate. And so it was actually the first week of me being here in 2015 for coming back to stay, coming to study. And so I met this French craft chocolatier at the farmer's market at the
Oh
university in
wow.
the first week, spoke to him, tasted his chocolate, and I was just baffled. I was like, wow, what is this? Like, this
Yeah.
tastes so different. It tastes so good. And then he explained to me, about all the health benefits of cacao and said like antioxidant level, catechin, that's good for the heart, it's good for the brain, and it's good for the stomach, and it's good for that. And just like they're like, tell me more, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
eating this all day long. How did I not know about this stuff? And so I kind of, was like, I need this every day in my life. I'm a student. Craft chocolate is damn expensive.
Yeah.
So I asked him to volunteer. Uh, That was my buy-in. So I asked him to volunteer, and that worked out. And for 2 years, I was kind of just helping in different areas,
Oh, wow.
packaging, then eventually selling, going to markets and all of that stuff. And then he decided to move back to France
Oh, wow.
with his family. So I was 2 years into my studies. I still had
Yeah.
a year left, but I loved the product so much. I didn't want to have it disappear.
Yeah.
And he was so incredibly passionate, amazing values. I would say a lot what you see now today about the Good Chocolatier are still,
From him,
is still
his
a value
imprint.
chain
Yeah.
also from him.
Yeah.
And it worked so well with us because we had such a similar value system. He really wanted to make sure it's transparent cacao. It comes from a really good source. He wanted to end child slavery in chocolate. He was,
Yeah.
about all the good stuff, how you can change the industry to a more positive. But I would say in terms of, having a business book and like handing over, here's the business plan and go for it in terms of how to sell a business,
Yeah.
there wasn't much of that. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like he could go on and make good money with it. It was more so like it was a passion project, and he wanted to make it work for 3 years. But he was really just he went to a university, tested the ingredients, how healthy it is. He wanted to make sure that in all the steps of the chocolate making process, none of the antioxidants and the nutrients
Oh,
are getting
wow.
lost.
Yeah.
He was diabetic himself, so
Oh, okay.
no ever
Yeah.
refined sugar, no cane sugar. um so all of this stuff was like amazing blueprint for like really
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
chocolate, right? It just had to create more a brand and a business around it. And not that I was studying business or that I wanted to have anything to do with leading a business at all, but I came across social enterprises during my studies.
Yeah.
It was really just one seminar, and back then, and I was saying back then, it's right, like now 7 years ago. It's not
Yeah.
that long ago, but even business students at university were not yet learning about social enterprises.
No, no.
And I was just like, how do you go through 4 years of a program? Don't you run out of topics? This is such a great topic, like social enterprises. How come people
Yeah.
don't know more about it? And but we had a seminar. I studied social change and community leadership, so helping neighbors to integrate back in society, looking at, marginalized people. What are they, how can we help them? How are they right now not supported? And social enterprises kind of clicked,
Yeah.
all the boxes
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is such a big problem. Like, no matter if I work with single moms, homeless people, people that are neurodiverse, like a lot of these folks were just dying to work, right? They wanted
Yeah.
to work. Nobody was like just getting free handouts and enjoying their life. They wanted to feel purpose, wanted to feel a sense of belonging, contribution, sense of meaning, right? There's so much that work gives us beyond a paycheck. And then as well, a paycheck is this expensive city, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
poverty, senior poverty, and all of that going on. So for me, the model, uh, employment-based social enterprise was just to put so many things together. Um, and then knowing Pierre and the chocolate, I was like, you know what, if I want to try this, if this is really something I want to at least go deeper into, I'm just going to try it myself. And what is their sweeter product than chocolate?
Nice.
So it was, a bit of chocolate was more like the vessel,
Yeah.
and really the social enterprise part was the whole motivation, it's the whole mission behind it. And I think that's why I'm still here doing that,
Yeah. I
because
think it's
yeah.
so important, isn't it? And I think it's one of the things I love about like small sort of entrepreneurial businesses is I think it's far more frequently that they have like this heart to them that actually, you know, it wants to do good and they actually, they walk their walk and they talk their talk kind of thing rather than it, being sort of in the sustainability or greenwashing where it's just it sounds good on the label or in the marketing department, but it actually doesn't translate through to the actual grassroots of how the business is run. And I think, you know, I mean, obviously my podcast is predominantly focused on nature, but one of the big things is like we're part of nature. Like, caring for people goes hand in hand with caring for the planet. They can't be separated. The two come together, and if you've got people that are struggling, that are marginalized, then, they're not going to feel able to care for the planet because they're
Hmm.
struggling to survive. They're in this, this sort of locked in cycle of struggle. So it's, having these companies that actually care on all levels, which is what your company is built around, is just so important. And that's what I love. That's part of why I wanted you on, because I wanted to like be able to help get awareness out there, because I'm like, you've got a beautiful blueprint for how other companies and businesses can operate, but also, people could support you as well if they're in Canada or nearby, and they can buy your products and know that they're doing good on so many levels. And I think it's just so important, isn't it? It's really, I don't know, I feel like it's one of the big keys for how we're going to like vision a better future for the world and everyone, is actually having companies like yours that have people at their heart.
Hmm. I think there's so much to, unpack there. I mean, for me, sustainability, when I first heard it, right, I just thought it's environment.
Yeah.
And then I did some sustainable design in Cologne before I was like, you know what, let me just leave Germany and start something else. Um, I learned, about the three pillars, and of course, there's like, the social aspect, but the way it was practiced more widely, like sustainability, was almost exclusively environment.
Yeah.
As much as I could, see
Yeah.
about businesses that were green, and that was always just environment. Um, and that was kind of a trouble for me, because it's sustainability only works if you also have social sustainability, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And frankly, people, we have a big homelessness population here. Like, you can't force them to take care of the environment if the people are not taken care of. It's a privilege to care for the
Yeah.
environment, right? That you have
Yeah.
enough resources, and that you look around you and you feel like set and stable and safe, and now let's go take care of the planet. But a lot of people can't even do that. So there's so many things that happening, next door. And I think that's definitely one aspect I learned from the yoga training and the philosophy, like how Indian people that are, yogis, or even Indian culture is very much take care of your neighbors, and
Yeah.
it's your
Yeah.
duty as a human to do something good, and don't complain too much, like just do something good, and that's our duty. And there's a lot of more community-based culture than we have in
Yeah.
Germany,
Yeah.
or than we have here. And I people that I didn't study right away when I came out of university, and it was a blessing, because I think I had to grow up first and find some of
Yeah.
my values, and
Yeah.
just know really what
Yeah.
I want to make, how I want to contribute in the world. And when I came here to study community leadership, because in Germany I was like, well, sustainability, there's so much more. Let me find something that focuses more on the social sustainability
Yeah.
aspect. Um, Students that were just 19-year-olds next to me, and I mean, I was 23 or 23 at that point, right? Not an adult fully, but I would say I could already see the difference. 19-year-olds want to go and change the world, and go
Yeah.
to wherever, this country and there, and the first world, and just help people from the bottom up. But then you look around and you're like, there are so many neighbors here that need help. There's
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
people that are not helped. Like, why not locally focus on what they don't have? It's beautiful that we want to go travel and help there, but it shouldn't turn a blind eye towards what's happening around here. So I think for me, it was important to go into the social aspect of
Yeah.
sustainability, because it usually also means environment. But when you focus on environment, I notice it doesn't always mean also
Yeah.
social.
Yeah.
So I was in some of the little local meetings for whatever. Some was a bit political, some were just social groups and neighborhood houses and stuff.
Yeah.
And there was this one talk about a farm, an organic farm here in BC, right?
Yeah.
And they had Mexican slave workers.
Oh my
16
word.
people housed in one thing, working nonstop, right? They
Oh,
okay, they were given some money, but no human rights, right?
yeah.
A human rights violation on all levels. And then I'm going to a grocery store and feel good about myself buying this organic produce.
Wow.
That was absolutely insane to me that, in the organic
Yeah.
label, there is not rules and regulations to make it equally ethical,
Yeah.
but fair trade label actually makes it very much environmentally friendly and it's good for the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
forest. So in the ethics, I thought that was always one that's higher up because most people who have come to the ethical part usually already came from the environmental
Yeah. Yeah.
sustainability part.
Yeah.
But the other way around, I didn't see it that much. So I thought there needs to be, more awareness to it. And our whole brand is making healthy and ethical chocolate bars. But of course, there's compostable packaging, it's organic ingredients and all of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be at the forefront. That's just like a kind of a common sense for us.
Yeah.
But let's do something that, we don't see as much yet.
Yeah. I think, oh gosh, that's just, it's really, it's kind of just left me speechless because I think, like we're talking in like the last decade that you're saying that you're in, everyone around the world would agree Canada is a developed nation, a good example, really. You would expect that, and to have that so close to home, I think, is just yeah, it's just really it's actually just really sad, isn't it? I think
Yeah. I think it
you
happens everywhere though, I
yeah,
think in Germany it happens. If it's not, there's no regulations in place, you're gonna exploit the system. Not everyone is a, you know, good
yeah.
business owner, CEO, right? A lot of people want
Well,
still
and
profit and
I think a lot of, particularly in sort of food production, a lot of people are seasonal workers as well. So they kind of slip through the net of like the
exactly.
rights that, a full-time employee might enjoy or expect, because they're on a sort of hourly wage with no contract or a 0 hours contract or something like we have in this country. And yeah, it's just well, I mean, this is a part of why I wanted to speak to you because I do really believe that, we have to stop exploiting exploiting people in the same way that we need to stop exploiting the earth. And you can't be one without the other. They need to go hand in hand. And like you say, it is a conversation that perhaps is not had as frequently as the environmental conversation. And certainly, with the exception of perhaps like things like fair trade, which do try to highlight a little bit of the issues, but then they're focusing in developing countries, like you said, rather than
Mm.
closer to home. And yeah,
Hmm.
I think we're all a bit guilty as well of feeling like like we want to save the world and like the world's like way over there and like on another
Yeah.
continent and actually we forget that actually there's and I think sometimes that feeds into that sense of powerlessness as well, is like you need to do something like save the rainforest in the Amazon or in the
Mm.
Congo in Africa, and but you're stuck
Mm.
in like Europe, and it's like actually, you can do things closer to home. And I think that's
Mm.
what's so lovely about what you're doing is it's like,
Mm.
you're helping your local community and just
Mm.
being a lovely custodian of it and showing that
Hmm.
there is another way and it works. It's like
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be exploitive. Like I think we've fallen in this trap, haven't we, for so many years that
Hmm.
exploitation is the way to make it and make
Hmm.
profits. And actually we need this new vision that people like
Mm.
yourself are helping to
It's
show.
it's already I mean the main also certification for like businesses for a better world is it's B-corp,
Yeah.
and I know actually it's widely spread in the UK. When
Yeah,
I
it's
read
huge. It's
about
getting
it,
bigger and bigger here.
it's getting
Yeah.
much bigger. I think in Canada we had like maybe I think there was like 500 B Corps or something a few years ago, but now it's over 1,000. And I
Yeah.
know there was a big movement in the UK as well. And I think that's, I went through the assessment, and for anyone who doesn't know about it, it's actually, um, it it's taking apart every single aspect of the business, right? The sustainability team is not going to give you points. Let me tell you that, right? It's just really, how do you measure your impact? Who do you source from? Do you know, is it women-owned business? Well, how is it in the producing countries? Do you
Yeah.
know your entire supply chain? It's taking apart government, environmental impact. Like, there's probably a series of a good 200, 500 questions.
Wow.
And for every single question you answer, you just get 0.001 point. And
Wow.
so it can be a makeup of, if you skip out of one entire theme, you actually don't get higher, in the points.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's even made me, who I thought, oh, we're a social enterprise, it's all organic ingredients, and we source fair trade, we're local, we use local ingredients. Like, I thought we're going above and beyond already. And that's true for sure. It's not like we wouldn't need a lot of work to get certified, but it's still triggered a lot of good questions
Yeah.
through going through the process that I did not think about,
Yeah.
in terms of really, the supply chain, and do I source from other B-corps? What, right? So
Yeah.
there's so
Yeah.
much to it. And even, I think, if there's any business owners out there that are considering, and even going through the assessment is going to open your eyes so much. You don't need a certification yet, but if you really want to know how to think about a business that is there for a better world, in total, as a holistic approach, then B Corp asks a lot of amazing questions.
Yeah, it's fantastic to hear your experience of that because I've seen obviously the rise in B Corps in the UK and some companies that I really like and I've followed their journey for a long while. They've become B Corp certified, and so I obviously sort of felt that it is a good thing. But actually to hear how detailed and in depth it is from someone on the other side of the picture is really encouraging to hear, I think, is the thing, that there is actually something out there that as consumers, because that's the thing, there's a lot of
Mm.
consumers out there that we want to do good, don't we? We want to be able to go out and use our money. We're in a privileged position where we have money and we want to be able to do the best we can with it and support the right people and the right organization. So it's really fantastic to hear that your experience
Yeah,
is actually it is a good goal, a signpost to a company that,
totally.
yeah, really,
I trust it, and even if there's the 5 points where you say, like, oh, you can just get the minimum, even the minimum is really hard. Like, even
yeah,
the minimum, you have to have things in place and measure stuff, and you can't juggle your way through it without actually making a change. And there's, even in my business, there was kind of an approach. I thought, I have to have all the certifications, and there's so much. And even for health wise, there's like soy free,
yeah,
non-GMO, there's all of this stuff. And I was like, what to focus on? I can't get all,
yeah,
there's not room enough on the chocolate bar to get all of these. And even budget wise and management wise, I guess,
yeah,
like, they're also, all of them cost money. And I was like, okay, what should I do? Fair trade is what I decided on a couple of years ago, to have that as a for sure thing, because our brand is ethical and healthy. And
yeah,
although our cacao was always fair trade, our business wasn't fair trade certified. And so there's still a lot of consumer trust for certain,
yeah.
certifications, and
There
it
is. It's
does
been
help a
around
lot.
a long time. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
true. It's been around a long time. If you don't know anything about the business background, and you just stand in front of the product and you're like, oh, this fair trade, okay, this says something, and I
yeah,
want to support something like that, and I don't regret it. I do gain even more trust for the fair trade logo by going through it. I actually had a lot of, mistrust for any type of
yeah,
certification,
yeah,
because I always thought, like, you can just tell me whatever. Nobody goes check on the
yeah,
farms, right? Like,
yeah,
I just go there and ask the people in power. But um, it actually does make a really big impact, and they're doing a lovely job in, promoting fair trade, making sure fair trade businesses find each other and buy from each other. And I've gotten a lot of cool, relationships through that as well. Um, and then, of course, the impact they do at the farm level. but yeah, so B Corp, I think, was always something I was, aspiring towards. It's like, one day I want to do that. It's just cost probably a good year of implementation,
Yeah.
changing many aspects of the business to really get better and high in the points. And I
Yeah.
think it's a wonderful certification.
Oh, brilliant. Oh no, that's so it's the fair trade is on your the cocoa that you source, isn't it, as well? So
Yeah.
you've got that from because I believe you source from South America, don't you? It's where
Yes.
your main source
Yeah,
is.
it's Ecuador and a little bit of northern Peru. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
criollo bean. That is just the most tastiest bean. And we only lightly roast the beans. I do source, not the raw bean only. I source cacao nibs and cacao paste and butter, which is pretty much just like olive oil, you can
Yeah.
press the olive cold press and have wonderful nutritious oil, or you heat it up very high. You make the oil much faster, but you lose a lot of the nutrients. So heat in making any kind of butter or any kind of high fat product, heat is always a bit difficult because you lose nutrients and it can become toxic. So our beans are lightly roasted. So the paste and the butter is actually made with just very little heat and pressed, and so the paste and the butter comes out, and then we use also some raw cacao nibs just to get an extra boost of nutrients. And it's all, yeah, if the bean wasn't tasty, raw cacao tastes terrible. But
Yeah.
if the bean is very good, like it has so much complexity without even doing anything. Usually the roasting process in cacao is where all the flavors, the chocolatey notes that we know of come from.
Okay.
But yeah, so if you have raw cacao nibs, for example, hold them in your hand, you smell, you taste some kind of chocolatey notes, but when you eat it, it tastes like cacao. It's not chocolate yet.
Yeah, it's almost a bit I want to say a little bit almost bitter, isn't it, in a way? Yeah.
It can be really good quality beans. Cacao is not that bitter.
Okay.
It's often through the roasting process and over roasting to that the bean tastes bitter and it's burnt. And that's the same
Mm.
in coffee, right? That's
Yeah.
just dark roast is burnt. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's strong. It's not really strong. It just tastes burnt. And the same with low quality chocolate. Most of the commercial chocolate is burned just because of the speed of processing, right? The cut and labor cost and all of that. So we mostly are used even Lind, right? So you buy a 90% dark chocolate, it's super bitter. And we all grew up, me including, with thinking that dark chocolate is bitter, but it's only bitter if it's the process has been paid attention
Oh,
to
okay.
really the nutrient level. So I make a 95% dark chocolate. It's smooth, it's complex, it's enjoyable, like it's that doesn't have the burnt notes whatsoever.
Yeah, I traveled to Madagascar quite a few years ago and they make chocolate over there and their chocolate is like you say, it's like really smooth and just it doesn't have that bitter it looks like really black, like dark chocolate, but it just
Hmm.
has this I don't know, almost like creaminess to it rather than
Hmm.
that sort of bitterness that, like you said, you expect in the more commercial, dark chocolate
Hmm.
qualities. But yeah, it's fascinating. Was there a reason that you particularly picked like South America? Was that just where you were familiar with the supply chain or?
I definitely, looking at supply chain and distance in general, I thought
Yeah,
it's the closest,
yeah,
and it's also seen as one of the highest quality cacao out there. So it was kind of Pierre already had a source in Ecuador, and then one in Indonesia. And I've tried, cacao from all over the world, and
yeah.
definitely there is now cacao out there that no matter what genetics the bean is and where it grows, it can be incredibly high quality. But it's easier to find a very consistent, stable, fair trade, organic, really tasty stuff in Peru and Ecuador. because it's never been as exploited as some
Yeah,
of the other
okay.
places.
Yeah.
So West Africa, and that's another topic right now, that's just a global cacao shortage, and it has all to do with unethical behavior and zero awareness towards sustainability. And it's all now clashing towards we don't have enough cacao in the world to
Yeah,
supply the
I was
demand.
reading you've got a blog post on your website about that and
Yeah,
seeing like it's like what the yield this year was down like to 30% of what it was last year or something. Like it's a
yeah,
huge impact. And
massive.
yeah, and you I think you said it was just from like is it like 40 years basically of just like them not being paid really enough for what they're producing and
Exactly.
yeah.
Like all this chocolate, even in Germany, I'm like pretty skeptical. There's chocolate, fair trade chocolate for €1. I
Yeah.
know for a fact this is not even possible, How much does the farmer, if you even make, the maker makes
Well,
40% and the retailer.
I was talking to another guest actually who's in America and he started roasting coffee and he was saying like
Cool.
that you have to be really careful looking at the packaging because a lot of them are a bit sneaky and they basically they'll have like 1 to 10% of their sort of coffee that's in the packet or in their supply
Mm,
chain even is from like the fair trade source and the rest of it
mm.
is just not and I
But you
guess this
shouldn't be able to get certified if it's just so little.
I think I don't know whether they maybe are just being a bit clever with saying how where it's sourced or something rather than saying that they're
Mm.
actually certified perhaps but
Oh.
yeah like we source
Hmm.
from fair
Hmm.
trade but actually it's not and I think yeah, I think I've seen it on chocolate over here as well. Like I think it's the Rainforest Alliance or maybe something like that.
Hmm.
And I've seen
Hmm.
chocolate bars that say like we guarantee that like 10% of our cacao comes from like Rainforest Alliance certified. And then you're like,
What
but
with the rest? What's
yeah,
with the
but
rest?
yeah, you're
And
like
then you have
90%
when
doesn't then. So
yeah,
yeah.
wow, not even worth mentioning, but for sure. I mean, I think what's crazy about the chocolate industry now too is the biggest manufacturers, they're all sourced from West Africa.
Okay.
And there's a few chocolate trade shows, conventions. There's, some craft chocolate events here in the States, and then there's in Paris, in
Yeah.
Netherlands. They're like quite big, and there's also all the big players go there, and you see all the Callebaut, Sprungly, and Lind, and all the big guys, and it's all green and beautiful. And here's the farmer, and everyone is
Yeah,
taken care of like
yeah.
over the years, right? It's pretty much in terms of we look at marketing, there should not be unethical cacao in this world anymore, right?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
the big players are doing good. It's
yeah.
everywhere, the plant here and everything is healthy. And yet at farm level, and when I wrote this blog and was actually a newsletter first because it's just insane. Like our prices are right now 3 times as much as before. It's so when I wrote this newsletter, it was a week ago, it was double the price. Now it's triple the price.
Wow. Wow.
And it's affecting everyone just because we have a global shortage and there's more
Yeah,
demand than there's
yeah.
supply. But it's just yeah, looking into that and describing has been happening at farm level, and that Ghanaians, they started smuggling cacao to Togo and Nigeria and sell it there because they couldn't get enough from the government, and the government was kind of the middleman who controlled the price and of course wanted to vouch to get better prices, but
Yeah.
there was just so much power of those European companies and even North American Nestle and Mars, to just beat
Keep
the
prices
price
too low,
down
basically. Yeah,
so low. And the
yeah,
Ghanaians, the farmers, they were not only allowed to sell to the government. And so
wow,
there's
okay.
even, on YouTube, there's like now Ghanaians, they're just like, this is my farm and show stuff and show around. They're like, we don't understand. Like, it's such a hard work. We have 40 acres of farm.
Yeah,
It was my dad doing farming and stuff. We still live in poverty. We're
yeah,
like 40 plus years working your ass off and still living in poverty is just, there's no way all of this, world, the commercial cacao can be sustainable. There's just no freaking way. They just have a massive sustainability team. Like the companies that need it most, they always have the biggest sustainability team. Right here in Canada,
Yeah,
oil and
yeah.
gas, like they have a whole
Yeah.
department. And
They have the
so,
whole
and that's
marketing team on like standby.
exactly.
Yeah,
And that's great if there's something behind it, but I think the sad part is about the cacao situation is that even companies that have been sourcing from very sustainable farms, and that's another thing with fair trade and the organic cacao. It's agroforestry, it's
yeah,
permaculture style,
yeah,
right? Like it's a very healthy forest. Growing cacao in a good way is amazing for the forest,
yeah.
and that's more like Central America still has never been exploited as much, so that there's still really wild, forests and
They
the
still have
mountains
the
and
forest rather than just having the cacao. It's like,
just having
yeah,
cacao and cacao
yeah,
and cacao.
yeah,
So now what happened in Ghana, because there's more monoculture, and there's a few trees around, of course, but it's more so just cacao farms for acres and acres.
yeah,
That there was a black pot disease, and then there was only one harvest season because the long rain period, and then it was too hot. So all these aspects, and Ghanaians smuggling cacao to other countries,
yeah,
diversifying their farms because they're like, we can't get anything from this cacao
yeah,
over years and years.
yeah,
So let's just plant something else, right?
yeah,
And now everything is clashing. And I guess the shitty part is that even I get hit, even people who support good, healthy farms, and
yeah,
my cacaos, I say 3 times as much, but to begin with, it was already 4 times as much as conventional cacao,
yeah, yeah,
right? So it's 7 times. It's just
yeah.
incredible how much more expensive it is now. But I think it had to come to that point to really make a change because they
Yeah, I
were
think
just for
sometimes
years it
that's
was
it,
out
isn't it?
there.
Like things have to almost sort of burn down to be able to like
Exactly.
go, okay, this is just really not working. And hopefully, going forward, actually these bigger companies can, try and take a bit of responsibility and actually invest properly rather than just trying to get the cheapest that they can lay their hands on. Yeah.
Exactly. And we can only get better from here by actually going to those farms, investing in infrastructure, helping the farmers have at least a livelihood that they can be proud of. So they want to farm cacao. Right now, they don't want this anymore, right? It's
Yeah.
too much work, not really high returns. And it's not the first food product this has happened with, right? Like since then temperatures are increasing and all of that stuff. Like it happened in other countries and to other crops as
Yeah.
well. That the only way out is really helping those
I
farmers. So
think
hopefully,
I mean, I don't know about in Canada, but I know even in the UK for our farmers, it's the same. They've been crippled by these chronically low prices that are just,
hmm,
basically they're not enough enough to sustain the production, let alone like actually, be profitable. There's certain crops that are more profitable and therefore they get grown more, and but then it's like you get these sort of gluts of those and not the diversity, and I think it is an issue in the whole like sort of food production supply chain
hmm.
right across the world. And obviously there's certain areas unfortunately in developing countries where they get exploited far more. But even in, like you were saying about the farm in Canada with their workforce, even, farmers in the
Hmm.
UK, and I mean we're pretty straight-laced in the UK. We like to follow rules, we like to have rules, and we like to tick the boxes.
Hmm.
But even here, our farmers are struggling as well. And, it's this I don't know. I think it comes back to like with your lovely story at the beginning about, like actually you growing the plant, and there is this disconnect, isn't there, for society between where our food comes from and what we're actually eating. And
And how much work it is.
yeah,
I could not imagine. I can eat 3 peppers in a sitting, but watching this plant grow, I'm like, oh, I better eat less pepper, It's
yeah,
just insane how much work it is and how long it takes. And I mean, there's all these modern ways to grow food now,
yeah,
and yet you got to see it to appreciate what's
yeah,
really behind it and not complain about, I don't know. Okay, it is food prices are obviously getting out of hand, right? Like now, pepper is $5, but it's still, if you know how much work is behind there, if it was my pepper, I would want to sell it for $5, right?
Yeah.
And of course, I'm not running that business,
Yeah,
thank
it's
God. But it's so much work.
yeah, I think
It's
this is
so
the hard thing,
exhausting.
isn't it? Is I think it's obviously we have got people in society, even in our countries who are, struggling to be able to afford to eat, and
Mm,
that's, which is where your social enterprise side of your business comes in. And, so food needs to be affordable, but at the same time, we need to value it more as well, don't we? And I think there is this, that's where the sort of disconnect is in
hmm
society is, fine. And there's with all of these things, there's not one answer, there's not an easy answer, it's everyone
mm,
taking what responsibility they can, those that are privileged being able to sort of step up and do that little bit more
mm,
and support everyone. And I think that's what's so lovely about what you do is like you're because like I guess that's what the B Corp is about as well is just looking at every aspect of a business. So from your supply,
mm,
your farmers growing your cacao, like you're looking after them. You're hoping that they're getting paid a fair amount so that they can look after their workers, they can look after their families, they can look after their environment, and then
hmm
it carries on up your supply chain to actually sort of your business hub where you are in Canada and how you're impacting your more local suppliers. Because I mean, you do some amazing flavors of chocolate. Like everyone needs to go and look at your website, and I guarantee your mouth will be watering. And I love the fact that like there's a lot of it is Canadian inspired as well. I think you've got like maple pecan and you've got a lovely one as well, which is it ice wine honey as well, which is quite
hmm
unique and unusual. So you obviously work with more local suppliers for other aspects of
hmm
your products and
hmm
and ingredients as well.
I think one of the important things for me was all in the sustainability sense, right? Seeing that cacao comes from so far, and that's obviously nothing I can change. Like
Yeah.
it's 70 to 50 to 90% of my product will always be cacao. But then what can I do to, offset that a bit in terms of working more locally and finding local partnerships? And I also have a Buy BC logo on the bars, and that's companies who meet a minimum of things they do locally. Even it can be packaging, who does, the labor and like not just your pure ingredient and that, but looking at all together what makes up your product. And
Yeah.
if most of it is local, then you can get this by BC logo.
Okay.
So it's another sign of at least, not trying to outsource everything to the cheapest place in the world possible, but really seeing like what are great companies locally that how we can support and use and still be quite of a, locally integrated
Yeah.
business while sourcing an ingredient that doesn't grow here,
Yeah,
right?
that that
Which
needs
is
to
just not.
it needs to grow where it grows. Like, you couldn't grow it in Canada. So it's like
I
it's
think
it
we could.
yeah.
There's the banana trees, the palm trees everywhere, but they don't have fruits.
Yeah.
So I think, the tree might grow, but there might be not pods on there. But my goal is to have a greenhouse one day and grow cacao. That would be
Oh,
great.
yeah. I think yeah, if you manage to do that, I think most most chocoholics around the world would be like rubbing their hands together like, I've got my own
Totally.
supply.
Yeah, unlimited. Yeah. So great.
Yeah, but I think that is it's a simple thing that people can do that perhaps we overlook, don't we, in terms of like
The
supporting
growing?
the environment is just looking for local people to support. There are amazing local products wherever you are in the world, and there's amazing local farmers. And actually, if you can buy direct from them, then they also hopefully get paid better as well because you've cut out the
hmm
middleman and it is a great way to sort of help support the
hmm
environment and your community.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, it does. kind of make it a bit more expensive, right? But it's the people who work here on the farms, like like somebody else also got to do it, right? So
Yeah.
if we say like, oh, cutting costs by all means, then local would not be a good model, right? To be
Yeah.
frank, they live in the same um economy that I do,
Yeah.
and so we all need to make somewhat of money to even, buy our food and all of that. But it has the beauty of even, having these relationships. I think it's, we speak a lot, and especially since COVID, about a community, kind of resiliency of cities and networks, how that don't break
Yeah.
uh, when
Yeah.
whatever happens. And I think that makes really a place really strong to have all of these connections too, to with other people that help each other, because anything happens, I can still operate. And so that's, I think it's also an aspect of sustainability. There's
Yeah.
resiliency, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's if you have it, if you can, buy more local. And I think in Europe, as long, at least what I remember from Germany, actually going to farmers markets is cheaper than shopping in the grocery store
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Here's the other way around.
You
That
pay that sort
farmers
of
markets are
artisan kind of, yeah. Yeah.
exactly. You pay the artisan the good deed, and
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
other points that I don't know what goes in there, but also tastes absolutely amazing, right? I've never
Yeah.
tasted a rainbow carrot with that much flavor, and like
Yeah.
it's just the farming is also super advanced. The ones that do it here, and they do it really, really well. And you probably, yeah, need to get one salad bunch, and you have the same amount of nutrients than buying five in the supermarket.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to, of course, afford it and make that effort. And I mean, my business is still a small business. The goal is to, make this big enough so that I can always shop according to my values.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one thing that everyone can do. And like you said, it's so hard to find brands we want to support, but it's also sometimes hard to know which ones are doing what. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
me even working in the food industry, I know a lot of faces and people behind the things in the supermarket that I buy, because I was like, oh, I know this person. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, such a great brand. This store. Oh, she started this way, and she's
Yeah.
just there in Squamish. And I know so many people behind those products that I can buy in a supermarket, but yet there's some products that already quite big, and it's like I see them everywhere, so right away I'm like, I don't think there's any beautiful story. And then I look into it, and I hear them, see them somewhere speak, and I was like, oh my God, I had no clue they're this great, and all this
Yeah.
supporting all the local farms and stuff. And just because they've made it already and they're bigger and the price is appropriate, it doesn't mean that they actually don't have a beautiful story. So there's so much learning behind even, shopping the things and the
I
people
th
you want to
yeah,
support.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? I think and as consumers, like we forget that actually like we have the power to help these brands build as well. And like and as you get sort of economies of scale, you can, the products can become then a little bit cheaper because you've got sort of like a larger production as well, which then makes them a little bit more affordable for other people. So I think it's
Yeah.
important that, those of us that have that bit of extra income that we spend a bit more time like considering where we spend our money so that we can actually sort of help in the bigger picture of supporting these brands through their growth and then they and the impact that they're having. And I mean I love the social enterprise side that you work with is particularly around people that struggle with working in sort of normal work environments that are rigid and sort of not compromising in what people's needs are, aren't they? They're
Yeah. So right now, yeah, we didn't touch on that even. Well,
yeah,
what's the social enterprise? And so after when I said like, oh, I want to take over the business and was still in university, I actually made it my capstone project at the end to make a feasibility study around social enterprises, and if it's even possible as a small business, because my assumption was always uh, you see out there, it's like, oh, this company is like making millions and billions, and then now they're philanthropists. Like,
yeah, yeah,
every wealthy person is suddenly a philanthropist. Like, how did you get here though? Why didn't you do that
yeah,
from the get-go? And so I always thought you gotta, be rich first to think about giving back. And I wanted to prove that differently or test it out. Honestly, not even prove. I was like, is it possible, to do it
Yeah.
from the get-go? And so in order to find that, social enterprise angle, I went back to all the community groups that during my studies I studied with or I worked with and helped out, and was a lot of service learning and volunteering. And then when I went, through them, I met with the director of an organization that is the adult program of a high school for neurodiverse individuals
Okay.
that have a lot of support, and the goal is always to get them a level of independence up, so when they graduate high school they can perhaps live by themselves and or have a bit support but able to work. And so there's different levels of support they need, and if there's still a lot that they need around them throughout their adult life, they can, after high school, they come to this adult program. And the director and I had a chat, and it was so lovely because she said, you know what, that's exactly what we've been thinking about. We want to send out our guys to work. They want to work, but none
Yeah.
of the environments are really fitting, and there people don't know how to deal with the tantrums, and it was so difficult to make them thrive because the environment did not necessarily allow that, the work
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah.
And so that was a bottleneck for them because all of these guys, no matter how independent or they wanted to work in one way or the other. And and so it was really just finding the right match of what they could be doing that would help my business, because small business, I couldn't do it all anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I said, like, these are all the areas of the business. What do you think your guys are great at? And what can we do to help them work really well in an environment? And so through multiple conversations, it was really, that's often how it starts. Like, it's a beautiful marriage of we
Yeah.
help each other, and people sometimes think, oh, it's a social enterprise, oh, we're, just a charity or whatever, we hire someone. No, but it has to make business sense. Like, if they were not amazing employees and wouldn't do their work better than others, why would I hire them, right?
Yeah.
It's of
Yeah.
course a bit of finding that right thing and adjusting certain environments and the workplace towards their needs. But once that is set up, everything else later on is almost better than hiring a non-neurodiverse individual. They like just, they are, it takes them long to learn something and we need to adjust some stuff, but then they're just, every single time they do the work, they're just as happy and motivated and love doing it. Packaging is like super, it just very, it's very
So
consistent, repetitive work.
I was going to say almost therapeutic for them, like that sort of
It is,
constant.
and
Yeah.
excites them. They love doing this. They're like, they're right. They want to do every single thing perfect. Like, no
Yeah.
matter how many hours, they're just like, no, it still needs to be perfect. They're not. I've been working with them since 2018, and they're still excited about this. It's actually, in terms of employee retention and growing, like, they're the most reliable
Oh
employees I
wow.
can imagine.
Yeah.
And they thrive, and it excites them, and they, earn some money now. So it's uh that's also important, like, for them. They've never experienced what it means to earn money. So how
Yeah.
do how do you learn the real life in a program like that if you don't get the opportunity to work? That's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much of what we're doing, right? And
Yeah.
other people doing now, they can relate, or they it just gives them so much. And no matter how much they earn, and how sometimes just a couple of hours a week, right? It's like very non-standard work whenever there's a big batch, whenever yeah, it's not your 8 hours a day, and that's
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
not what they could be doing. But even the little bit is helping an individual so much. So it's right now 6 guys that are trained, that I work with this organization, do packaging, or the outer wrapper, the label, and the counting. And now uh, yeah, they do a bit of the quality control. They're just so accurate whenever there's like a bubble or whatever, put it outside. And
Yeah. Yeah.
they just stuff that I didn't even see as
Yeah.
well. So they do a
Yeah.
bit of that. And and inventory management, counting, writing down whatever, how many they per wrap. And I now work at the second organization, and I trained them in e-commerce fulfilling, because I thought, if they learn that with me, there's so many e-commerce brands out there
Yeah,
now. If they work at
exactly.
my fulfilling center or
Yeah.
somebody else's, they have the skill set. And that's one thing that's important, I think, for me, in terms of sustainability and making sure that I don't want this business to, go downhill or whatever, and or not exist anymore. But there is a chance that it's not going to exist forever. But so what happens to them? It's that they have a skill set that they can still apply somewhere else and even
Yeah.
grow as a career, and not just do this once and then I'm out of work or I'm out of, getting anything. So thinking about e-commerce was like, okay, perfect. Like if they can fulfill stuff for me and take orders and look at the orders and pack them, and that's such a great skill set.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even customer service now I have one
Oh,
that I
wow.
employed.
Oh,
Yeah. So
wow.
however we grow and when there's something available, we do, look at them first and see, reach out to the organization and see, do you have somebody, that fits that um job description, who would be great at that and who's excited about it. And then it's only a matter of creating the environment around. Like my e-commerce stuff has all the pictures of the different bundles, and then it's just like way more visual.
Yeah.
It's just how they learn, and that's something I wasn't trained at. But that's why I reach out to organizations that have their set community, and
And
I'm
they
not
have the
picking
knowledge
out
and
one individual.
experience that you
Yeah,
can, yeah.
they know who's best for this, who they know who, right, how they learn, they know them really well. And so that's how it kind of makes it also a bit more stable.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I think it's just it's about seeing value in everything, isn't it? And in everyone, and and I think that that relates so well to like nature and things is just seeing value in everything around us and realizing that sometimes it just takes someone being prepared to have an open mind and an open heart and just coming into a conversation and saying, I don't have the answers, but like I'd like to do this. This is my
Mm,
vision. And then, opening up like the questions and the conversation so that you do like create this, amazing opportunity for people
mm.
and the world. And I just yeah, it's you, you're amazing, Mara. It's just been, no,
And
it's
thank you.
been fantastic talking to you. I feel
Mm,
like we're probably, I could speak to you for hours and hours, but we probably probably getting to the stage where we need to wrap up
mhm,
today. But I
mhm,
just, yeah, it's just been fascinating talking to you and just exploring all of these ideas with you about actually just being open to it, isn't it? It's just like,
mhm,
it's as simple as that. I mean, you know, what's simple isn't always easy, but it
mhm,
we don't have to overcomplicate it, do we? It's just
mhm.
actually amazing to hear the incredible impact that you're having just, that's grown from your
On a
love of
small scale,
chocolate.
but yeah, totally.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's and I think it's so inspiring for people is just I think so often we sit there with this question of, what can I do as an individual and we feel daunted and overwhelmed and it's just, speaking to you, it's, there's so many ideas for people who are listening, whether it's, going out and
Hmm.
finding companies like yours that they can buy from and support, knowing that they're helping to do good, or whether they feel inspired to, start their own small business or, find local,
Hmm.
there's just so many ideas out there. And
Hmm.
yeah, just wow. Thank you so
Hmm.
much for
You're welcome. This is great.
it's just
I appreciate it.
yeah. I don't know if there's there anything that you would like to like leave people with as any sort of message that you'd like to leave as encouragement or a lesson that you've learned that's particularly important for you.
You know what? Just, I think there's always, everyone finds their path, and you don't need to be a social enterprise entrepreneur. You don't need to have your own business and to make an impact. I think also with just being a more aware and conscious consumer of everyday products, right? From
Yeah.
whatever, skincare to food products, like it does matter a lot. And it doesn't
Yeah.
look like it, you don't see it, but it really matters where you shop and who you shop from, and even learning about some of the background stories. And there's so many interesting things to find out, behind the curtains that we previously in 10 years ago, no company was transparent. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't a thing to learn about the stories behind a company. And that's a very beautiful evolution, that the information is out there and we
Hmm.
can learn this. And
Yeah.
it makes shopping more fun,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
know, like, it's like, oh my God, I know they grew this mushroom in this way, and what, and it's so cool to know these things.
Yeah.
And makes it very enjoyable. It makes consumerism much more enjoyable than
Yeah.
that it is painful, or feeling like, oh, we're just living in this, consumer. I'm just a consumer and have a 9 to 5 job. It's like, that doesn't matter. Like it's still really, really great as long as you are
Yeah.
more aware about the products.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think it is really important. And I think, most people listening to a podcast are probably in a certain, privileged position that,
Hmm.
they actually can, invest their time and money to make these educated decisions. I think is probably,
Hmm. Yeah,
um, you know,
totally.
to have an impact. But yeah, no, it's
Mm,
been absolutely amazing talking to you. I'm going to have all your links for everyone in the
thank you.
podcast description, so you can go and look at the amazing chocolate flavors that you have available. And hopefully, all my listeners that are in Canada and I guess perhaps the US can easily get your your products there.
Totally. US
Um,
easy. Shipping is
yeah.
same price as Canada.
Yeah, and for those of us a little bit further afield, you might you might have to do a bulk order or something, which
Yeah,
I'm sure
gather
is
together and ship a whole
is
box.
no
Yeah, I think.
hardship for a chocolate lover, is it? Oh, I'm gonna have to buy more chocolate.
So it's really worthwhile. Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
but
come
and
over
then
to Canada,
yeah.
visit, and bring it back.
Yeah, oh, that's another thing. Go and enjoy the Canadian outdoors and the lifestyle and culture, and buy some chocolate while
Hmm.
you're over there. So that's a great idea. But yeah,
Hmm.
it's been an absolute privilege and a pleasure talking to you today. And I just thank you for everything that you're doing in the world. I think it gives me great hope when I speak to amazing people like you, that this hope we have of a vision for a better future with less exploitation for nature, and also importantly people is possible, and it can work, and you're a
Hmm.
testament to that. So thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
that.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to the Nurtured by Nature podcast. I truly hope this conversation has brought some hope and inspiration into your life. I would love to have these messages ripple out across the world. So if you can, please share this episode with your friends, leave a review on your favourite podcast player, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. I would love to hear from you, so please feel free to connect with me on the links provided in the podcast description. But most importantly, thank you so much for being a part of this journey with me. But don't forget to simply get out there and enjoy the natural world.